Welcome back to the Packers Corner, the season finale. We'll go out with a bang here, some fireworks and toasters and whatever it takes, I'm sure. Schmitty, I was thinking we might have another week here, and we have another week of the show, but the Packers will not be playing this weekend. I guess we'll have to break it down. I don't want your eyeballs to pop out of your head here. We'll break it down after the intro, give it a moment, and we'll see you guys on the other side here.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
It was named after Vince Lombardi. You play in Green Bay. As important as it is to any other team, it means more to us.
When he walked into the meeting, he looked us right in the eye. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection."
My first thought was, on any play with my arm strength, I may not let anybody know this, but my first thought was home run.
On every play?
On every play.
He did what? Fires into the end zone. Touchdown! No!
Well, Dad, it's good to be with you one more time this season. We're going to have to watch another year of Matt LaFleur next year. Let's start it right off the bat with the heavy hitter.
Well, it's always good to be with you, Griff. Great pleasure to be with you and Schmitty. Unfortunately, I've got my mostly black on, Schmitty, just for you. I can go all the way up top here with the black and any way we need to. There's no orange in there. I want to make that perfectly clear. I don't know. I heard today that, at the Cleveland game with 4 minutes to go and the two Bear games, inside of 5 minutes, all those games had a 96% chance to be won and above. And the odds that all three of those games would be lost was 1 in 250,000. Now, you tell me what that indicates. I'm not so sure, but you know what? Ben Johnson basically came into Matt LaFleur's house and dog walked his wife and kids through the mud, and he had no response. Nothing. But the two most ignominious defeats in the history of the Green Bay Bears rivalry, including a playoff loss. Again, now the fifth in the last six. I'm just going to come straight with it here. What are we waiting for? 5 of the last 6 playoff games lost. The only one was the Cowboys game. Every one of the losses was a one-possession game in the fourth quarter where coaching could have got us over the top. 0 for 5. I'm done. I drew the line in the sand after the Philadelphia game, and then I gave him some credit because it looked like he had listened to me. But unfortunately, my first instinct was correct. If you go back and look at that tape, you will see I predicted almost to the T the way this season would end. I said we're going to win 4 or 5 more games. We were sitting at 5 wins at the time. We're going to eke into the playoffs, and then this thing's going to rear its ugly head in the playoffs, and we're going to be done. So what more can I say? I think that's enough. Better let Schmitty talk for a while so I don't blow a gasket over here.
Well, Schmitty, it was a great first half.
I can't believe we're watching the playback here. It should have just been like a video of breathing exercises because this is going to make me spiral. I have yet to watch the playback of the NFC Championship game against the Seahawks, and so I have to put this. Maybe
I'll put that up after this.
Yeah, I got to put this game with that loss. Going into the week, I was like, all right, we're gonna beat the Bears, not a problem. And then as we got closer to the game time, I said, well, Seahawks are going to be an absolute grinder of a test. We just, to save whatever we thought of this team this year, you go on the road and you beat the Bears. You treat it like you're damn near Super Bowl, and because that's how the Bears kind of were sizing up their season. If you can just beat the Packers, it was a successful season. If you lose to the Packers, this was a wreck for us. I thought, you know what, if we win this game, like, the job well done, especially considering all the people that we lost and the meaningful snaps. Then we decide to take a 21-3 lead, and I said, oh my goodness, my Lanta, my stars. I can't believe that we just came down in Chicago and just manhandled this team. This is
We're going to the
just
Super Bowl.
absolutely delicious. Not the Super Bowl, Griffey, but at least I was thinking, oh, just a sigh of relief that everything is right with the world and that we're going to be just okay. Think about, we limp into the playoffs. We don't have Micah Parsons, don't have Tucker Kraft, don't have a bunch of other meaningful players. And here we are just destroying the Bears. And then I see 3 and out on the first drive to start the half, another 3 and out. And after the second 3 and out, I go, there's just, is this really what I'm seeing? Are we really going to lose another game in such an epic fashion? And you just saw it unravel before your eyes. I even caught a glimmer of hope when Golden had his first touchdown of the year. What an absolute display of a specimen for that touchdown. That was fantastic, and I hope to see more of it next year. I thought, oh my goodness, we're up, by 11 with 6 minutes left. There's no way. We can't. There's no way we lose this game. And then the last 3.5 minutes, I watched the game on mute because I just couldn't bear to just listen to the roar of the crowd as they defeated our Green Bay Packers. It was an absolutely devastating loss when it never needed to be, all at the hands of Matt LaFleur. And Gar wants him gone, and here I am. Give him $60 million. Give him 4 years. Let's run it all back. I cannot wait to see Matt coach our team to victory. Woo! Oh, man.
Schmitty, whoa, hold on. Is that serious? Are you being serious?
I'm actually being serious. I want Matt LaFleur back. Matt, please don't leave us. If you're watching this right now, this is my cry to you. Maybe take like $500,000 less per year. The problem is, Griffey, with Matt, is he wants $15 million a year probably, and that's the going rate for a top-end head coach. And we might not want to give him that. The sad part is there's 7 teams lined up waiting to see how this all shakes out because they all want Matt. So we know we have a good thing. He is a good ball coach. We just can't get over the hump. I want to see 2 more years of Matt with Micah Parsons and Tucker. Oh, what could have been. Let's not forget, we were the best team for a handful of weeks this year. Agreed by most. So what a blunder of
Did you hear
loss.
the stat my dad laid on you? 1 in 250,000.
Griffey, I know.
I'm convinced, Dad. I'm on your side. I'm a little bit beside myself. I don't know how you could see that and say, let's give this guy 4 years. Are you kidding me?
It's the going rate, Griffey. Who do you want? The problem is who do you want?
Matt Walker.
You're going to end up with a lame Matt Walker. God bless him. I hope he signs some kids from lacrosse, Stout, and whoever else beefs up that team. They certainly need it. We can't lose Matt. We can't lose Matt. Because what if you lose Matt and you lose Halfley? What a disaster!
Perfect.
No.
Halfley's in this thing too.
Dad, go run wild. Tell this guy off. Tell this guy off for me if you would, Dad.
Well, look at Jeff Halfley. I'm out on him too. He didn't preserve a lead all year. How can you give up 25 points to the Bears in the fourth quarter and call yourself a football coach who has the attention of your players, who has them playing a scheme that they have confidence, who has them believing that they can stop anybody? There's nobody who believes in those coaches out there. When they're all saying, what is this plan? Quay Walker pretty much hit the nail on the head. This existed a long time before I got here. Schmitty, to your point, I'm sitting there watching that game in the third quarter when it's 21-9 and we're 3 and out. I went down in the basement and I did not watch the game. I listened as I putted and chipped because I could feel this thing slipping away. You could just tell where it was going. And at some point I said, you know what? It doesn't really matter because if somehow we win this game, we're going to go get shellacked by Seattle. So it just was such a downer, a gut punch. And those players, this is the institutional culture that is the Packers. We can't get it done when it matters in the fourth quarter. When do they ever just win a fourth quarter when it matters? We are we're 1-5 in our last playoff games when it matters. We have seen Matt LaFleur and Halfley to that point not be able to. How can you not make an adjustment in the second half to get your team going? I watched the 49ers the other night, and in the fourth quarter, Shanahan comes with a reverse that just is a huge play for him. He's got the answers. He's got the confidence of his players. I think we have an institutional problem. We need to tear it out, root, stem, and the whole thing. And there is who was Matt LaFleur before we hired him? Nobody heard of him. There's another guy like that out. In fact, tell you what, go get the guy from Indiana. You want to get a win?
Wasn't he that guy that was on the staff for the 28-3 Falcons game? That's what I knew him from. He's got a knack for this sort of a thing, Schmitty. Dad, I think you said it to me during the week here. If we didn't extend this guy before the season, what were we possibly looking for in terms of the most egregious losses you could have that would have a negative impact on his future with the Packers? If we were going to sign him anyways,
exactly.
What were we looking at?
I'm trying to imagine, to place myself between Ed Policy and Matt LaFleur and listen to Matt LaFleur and his agent try to rationalize that they should have a raise when they just lost in the most devastating fashion to their arch rival after Ben Johnson 8 months ago walked the whole franchise through the mud and stirred this thing up and then went out there and beat us 2 out of 3 times, just like he predicted he would. I don't know. If this isn't a fireable offense, what is? What does the guy have to do to get fired? I mean, I hear Schmitty on the one hand. Who else?
I don't, Schmitty. I'm normally level-headed here or under control, calm. I try to be, but I got to take a quote from you. I want to come through the screen and wring your neck. What the heck is going on with this take from you? And, okay, I could see maybe we let this thing play out, give him another year. I understand the going rate. If that's the going rate, as you said, and there's 7 teams lined up because they want Matt LaFleur, why don't we oblige them and trade him and get some draft capital? I'll take a second-round pick. Thank you very much.
The trade stuff doesn't – when's the last time that has actually happened? Was that Gruden?
If there's actual teams that want this guy, that's how it happens.
Well, he's on his last year, right? Policy doesn't want a lame coach.
Well, no, that's why we can trade him.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I caution you both and many people that want Matt gone on what a new regime would look like, knowing that you bring something new in. It's not necessarily a shakeup. Is not necessarily the end all be all, and it's going to get you over the hump when it comes time to win really meaningful games. Okay. And so Matt's had a recipe, and granted, while we haven't reached the pinnacle, we're still a damn good football team year in, year out. We forget sometimes just how consistent we have been in Matt's tenure. And I know consistently bad at times for these really meaningful games, but nonetheless, you're still going to the playoffs. We're still having games late in the year, and that, my friends, that's what keeps you around. And so when they're at the negotiating table and Matt can say, well, hey, I transferred from Rodgers to Love and we're still having playoff aspirations year after year, I deserve some credit. And I think that that's why Policy will come to his senses, and maybe not 4 years, but maybe it's a 2-year deal. It's a 2-year extension. And you ride out Jordan's and Micah's main part of their contract, and if it all blows up, so be it. So be it then. But I'm not ready to let Micah Parsons and Jordan Love, who Jordan just played an absolute dime of a game, MVP level, okay? I'm not ready to have someone else manipulate and put their finger marks on this quarterback that is one of the best. Let Matt continue.
How long did it take Ben Johnson to turn the Bears around? How long did it take Vince Lombardi to get to a championship game? How long did it take Coach Cignetti in Indiana to get to a championship?
I'll take that guy.
It doesn't take 7 years. If you have inspired your players and they believe in your system, and they are locked in instead of lining up in the wrong place, blowing coverages, blowing fourth quarter leads. There comes a point when a guy doesn't have it. And Matt, we thank you for transitioning from Aaron Rodgers. You did a nice job there. I'm not so sure, Schmitty, that Mike McCarthy wouldn't be better right now, but there's any number of other options. And I'm not kidding you. This guy has not got it when it comes to inspiring his guys. And it's the same old tired excuse every game. Well, we gotta be better prepared. We gotta do this, we gotta do that. Blame all goes on me. I mean, we're going to be listening to this tune, same thing next year. But, to be honest, Griff, I think Schmitty's right. I think that's the direction we're headed. I think that's what policy's going to do.
Well, you can imagine it taking a little bit of time to get the right players in place if you don't have the roster or the talent. I think we got the roster. Now, we lost a couple of our key cogs, of course, this year. But, man, I just have seen this too many times from Matt LaFleur, Schmitty. I'm done with it on principle. I think your point is right, because if you're going to get rid of Coach LaFleur, the question is, who do you replace him with? And is there somebody that's an improvement? At this point, I kind of don't care. Maybe I'm getting too fired up here. I think on principle, just as you said, Dad, when you have 2 losses to the Chicago Bears, as bad as these were, the 2 worst in franchise history to the Bears, to your rival, to Ben Johnson, who said all the things that he did before and after the game, I think there just have to be consequences for that, and you deal with the fallout. Is that crazy?
Yeah. Well, what about? Any number of guys. What's wrong with John Harbaugh? What's wrong with the defensive coordinator for the Vikings? I would even look at him. What's his plan? I'd have some questions. What's your plan for offense? Bring him in. I promise you, if he's the head coach, you don't give up those fourth quarter games. It's done. You're not giving up leads like that in the fourth quarter. And if he had any there'd be a couple questions you'd have to ask him, B-Flow, Schmitty, like, what's the deal with suing the league? What's your plan on offense? But he would be high on my list. And clearly there's guys out there whose names we don't even know. So I just think, think of this. You almost always get a bump when you hire a new coach. Why? Because the old comfortable ways are gone. And maybe Matt's just a little too friendly with the boys. Now everybody's paying attention. Everybody's got, their jobs on the line. There's a new sheriff in town. I come right in. If I'm the coach, I said the first day, gentlemen, we are done losing leads in the fourth quarter. It's not going to happen in my watch. If you guys have the dedication, if you guys have the pride, if you guys have the ability to close out games, you're going to be Green Bay Packers. If you're not, you're out of here. And that's the way it's going to be. And this is the regime now, and we're done with this nonsense. And here's how we move forward. We need somebody to come in there and lay down the law, be a new sheriff in town, and I'll be willing to live with the consequences. My point also here, Schmitty, is this is a good team. This is a highly desirable team. You've got your quarterback. You've got your defensive closer in Micah Parsons. You're getting Tucker back. This is a team that could turn it all around next year. And I just see what's going to happen under LaFleur. They're going to vie for the North, and then he's going to screw it up in the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. And you're going to go, why? Griff, tell me about timeouts. Here we go again. What do you need a timeout in the second half for? So your best player can have the best chance to bring you back. You don't call a timeout because you got 10 men on the field. You just let the play go, and you save that timeout so your quarterback has a chance to win you the game at the end. And lastly, now you got me going. Schmitty, you hit the nail on the head. How can we spend a whole year understanding that Matthew Golden has the kind of run after the catch skills that he exhibited there? How can you not see that in practice? And it takes you till the last game to scheme it up so he can get the ball and make plays. And why are we throwing the ball to Jaden Reed at the end of the game when we could have thrown it to Matthew Golden? That's about all I got for the moment.
Well, I got 2 things on the coaching front to pose to Schmidt here. One, this trade consideration, I think, is serious because it's not Matt LaFleur versus John Harbaugh, who's better. We could have John Harbaugh in a 2. That's clearly better than Matt LaFleur. I just think that's where we're at. That's clearly better. You say when was the last, coaching trade? It was Sean Payton to the Broncos. It wasn't, all that long ago. So
Mike
I don't think
Holmgren
that's.
went for a second rounder to Seattle.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer was traded for picks. It's happened.
Gruden was the big one, of course. But I don't think that's at all inconceivable. What do you say to that, Schmitty?
Look, guys, I don't mind it. I'm just, here I am, the nervous Nelly, just worried of what it's going to look like come June. Like, once OTAs start, like, is the regime set? Like, I don't want to disrupt the force that is, like, I'm so nervous because I know that we have the talent. The roster is there. Goody's done about as good as we can ask, minus a couple pieces here and there. But we have a roster that can get it done when it's healthy, moderately. And so knowing that Matt has had success, I don't want to go down this path of, all right, now we have Harbaugh and he's aging. Maybe we get a couple of seasons out of him. We get it. His window is essentially the same window that you have Micah and Jordan on these contracts. Look, we brought Matt on, right, and this was for his first go at a head coaching job. I'm not saying it can't be done, and you guys mentioned a bunch of coaches that have done it and it's worked out. Just me being the worrywart, I don't know if whoever we bring in can impact immediately what we already have. And what we already have is a plentiful group of guys that know how to win football games. The kids that we're putting out on the field, they know how to do it. And so I'm concerned. If we said we get a second round pick and Jim Harbaugh next year, maybe then that softens the blow ever so slightly, I think.
The other thing that I think is being taken for granted here is Ed Policy just saying, I don't want a lame duck coach. First of all, okay, it's great to not want that, but why is that not a possibility? You talk, Dad, about having a sense of urgency. Maybe that would give Matt LaFleur a sense of urgency. The other thing is the terminology. Lame duck, that's for a president that can't run for a third term or something like that. This is not a lame duck situation. It's a prove-it year. Why is that not on the table?
Well, first of all, do you trust Matt LaFleur to hire and fire assistant coaches?
No.
Okay. Number two, are you going to trust him the next time we're in a close game in the fourth quarter to use the timeouts appropriately, to make the right decisions, to make the right play calls? Imagine yourself next year watching what is the definition of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? It's insanity. We're talking about the insanity clause here with keeping Matt LaFleur. And we're just going to find ourselves in this. I'm sorry, Schmidt. I'm sorry to do this to you, brother, but this is a little tough love. We need to try to visualize into the future and imagine how this thing's going to look. I cannot in good conscience sit here on the Packers corner and have any faith in Matt LaFleur going forward to do it for us when it comes to the major decisions that need to be made by a football coach. He's probably the nicest guy in the world, and I think he is. And I tell you what, if he gets let go, I'll say a prayer for him and his family. God bless him. They've done a lot of good things in Green Bay, and
He'd be a hell of a girls varsity tennis coach, as your mother and my grandmother said.
He's a hell of an offensive coordinator is what he is. He's a hell of an offensive coordinator. Just don't let him make the big decisions and get somebody. He's an example of the Peter principle. He's been elevated beyond his capabilities, and somebody else going to have to figure that. He'd be great for Tennessee or New York, who just wants to become viable again. He's not a title town coach. He's not going to put us over the top and get us a title.
What can you respond to my lame duck? Why is that not on the table?
Every player knows that the coach is playing out his contract. If it starts to go sideways, obviously, does he lose the locker room? I think you're setting the guy up for failure for sure. If you just let him coach out the last year and things start to go sideways.
Not if he coaches well, then you're not. What if you sign him for 4 years and it goes sideways? That's even worse.
Well, I think everything I've said here would lead you to believe that I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating for it, a nice, clean cut, move forward. Here and Schmitty said it well. We're in our Super Bowl window. The next 3 to 4 years, Micah's up, for 4 years? Kraft and Love are in their prime. You need a few acquisitions. You probably need to get a cornerback here or there, an offensive lineman, and bring a guy like Jim Harbaugh in during this 4-year window who can lay down the law. I don't know if it's Jim Harbaugh or who it is. B-Flow, and let's go see what we can do in this window. And you're going to get a bump from a new coach. You just, if the guy's got any competency at all, you're going to have guys' attention. And this is going to shock the locker room. And it should, because what better way for Mr. Policy to send a message to the entire institutional culture at Green Bay than Matt LaFleur is a good coach and we thank him, but it's not enough to tolerate our rival beating us and losing all the close games and not winning playoff games. I think it would send a message, a clarion message through the organization that would be loud and clear and would set the tone and be a line in the sand like one guy on this podcast talked about 6 weeks ago. And here we go. Let's move forward under a new regime, get it done.
Well, I've clearly joined your side of that line in the sand, Dad. How about this from Ed Policy? How about when we get a press conference and he comes out and says there's 500 coaches that could win a Super Bowl with this team, and we bring in Barry Schweitzer or something like that? No, in all seriousness, I don't know if there's 500. I don't know if we're quite the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. But I think there's 10 or 12. What's that, Dad?
What did Lombardi's name end in? A vowel.
Vowel?
You know what that means? He was Italian. What did Signetti's name end in? All the guy does is
I like it, Dad.
Huh?
You don't have to convince me.
Pay him $20 million a year. Get him out of Indiana. Let's go win. So, that guy would. I'm telling you. I'd be.
I like it.
Ready? What are the odds on the Super Bowl? Put 100 down on it right now if you get Signetti in there.
I like Signetti.
Roll. He's got the vowel at the end of the name.
I think there's, to my point though, I don't know if there's 500 coaches that could get us to the, hoist the Lombardi, but I think there's 10 or 12 out there, Schmitty. I just don't know if Matt LaFleur is one of them.
And that's, you guys are making all fair points, and I teared up because the thought of losing Matt, and it's bittersweet if he does get his walking papers, because we did had a lot of success with him. I remember the Gold Zone years to start his tenure. Like, we were the best thing on offense for a while. Rodgers resurges his career for 2 more MVPs. Matt did a lot of good, and yes, we appreciate how great of an offensive coordinator and play caller he was. He couldn't get enough handlers at the end of the day, because I feel like that's what did him in on a lot of these games. He needed other people to manage, and I think it was, yes, I will agree. Maybe this was just too much for him to take on, and so now we lose 2 heartbreakers to the Bears, and it's a really you just question where this team is going, and you hope Policy can get it right for us.
Well, I guess we better spend a little time to look forward here, and in all likelihood, it sounds like we're on the doorstep of your boy coming back, Schmitty. Matt LaFleur being with the Packers. That it sounds like the winds are going that way. Dad, I think you've been using the thought of him getting his walking papers as a silver lining to this game we saw against the Bears. Where are what headspace are you going to be in when he's coming back and we start talking about the draft? Fortunately, we don't have a Gutekunst first-round pick to suffer with, but what do you think of as we just start to look towards April?
Well, you guys know, and we have a lot of fun on this podcast with Schmitty and the Toasters. I don't go to Toaster Land. I very quickly get philosophical after a loss, and I start looking for silver linings. And it occurred to me about the next morning, what was the game? Saturday night. Sunday morning, I got up and I said, you know what? Maybe the silver lining is that how can the guy survive this, losing to your arch rival twice, having all these we're going to get a new regime. If it had to be that we had to lose, then there's my silver lining. And really, to be honest, I go all the way back, and I've said this many times on the podcast, to that NFC Championship, 4th and 8 in an 8-point game, and Matt LaFleur made that call, and I go, this is coaching 101. How do I believe? And I got to a point where I said, okay, maybe he can learn. Maybe it was just in them. Everybody makes a mistake. So you give them one chance. You give them two. We're up, ladies and gentlemen. We've had an experiment here. We've had a control group and a study group. You have to get a statistically significant N. That's a number of subjects in each group. You run the statistics, and guess what the t-test says? Beyond any reasonable doubt, at a 99% confidence level, this guy doesn't have it, and we're proved out that decision in the championship game, which is coaching 101, it's a math problem, has now been substantiated, and anything now to think this guy can do it is insanity. So I'm not sure what your question was, Griff, but I just had to go. If you're asking me to do a hypothetical where I'm thinking of Matt LaFleur running this thing during the draft, I can't. I think I'm off the podcast. I think I'm going to play golf. Schmidt, you and I are going to go play golf over there
Okay.
wherever you play over there in Minnesota. We're going to just forget about this whole thing.
We might have to shut it down. I think that's the most likely scenario. My dad says Coach LaFleur has been weighed.
I am sending a fax, a letter, a phone call to 1265. You know I did this. Maybe I did this when Ron Wolf hired Ray Rhodes. I was you guys' age. Fax was just coming on. I sent a fax the day the rumor came out. I said, "Dear Mr. Wolf, you've done a number of outstanding things for this organization. I appreciate you so much. Please, I heard a rumor you're hiring Ray Rhodes. Would you please, for the sake of the organization, first interview Brian Billick, Kubiak," and I listed 3 or 4 others. And then after you interview all those guys, if you still think Ray Rhodes is the guy, by all means hire him. Well, he didn't listen to me. But within a year, he fired Ray Rhodes. So clearly he pulled that fax out and realized the guy from Hudson, Wisconsin, Christensen over there, was right. And he changed course. And anyway, I don't know. Maybe I should have sent. I kind of have faith in this policy guy. I'm thinking Carmen Policy, he's been through all this. Carmen Policy traded Joe Montana. Carmen Policy fired Walsh or moved on from Walsh. So he made the tough decisions in that organization. So I tell you what, every day that goes by that this deal isn't done gives me more hope that he's maybe working the phones to see what kind of a deal we can come up with. So we'll just see. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
I think it's enough to hand it back to Schmidt at least, if nothing else. But, if there was a 7th playoff spot, we would have got another year of Ray Rhodes, and it's been the 7th playoff spot that's been saving Coach LaFleur. Schmidt, I think the most realistic, the most likely scenario still is that he's back. You get your wish, my friend. My dad will be wearing black to celebrate that occasion. And what do you think that looks like for us as we head towards the start of a new year?
I'll say, I mean, I've cried on today's episode. I've laughed a bunch. I'm just in disbelief of how this season just totally fell apart on us. And now Matt's we don't know if he's coming back. I couldn't believe if you asked any of us when we were 4-1-1 or when we beat the Steelers that we'd end up here. If Matt comes back, Griffey, as you said, the number one pick, not having the first rounder this year, who cares? Because it's never really mattered for a long, long time. Goody's, this really is going to fall on Goody. Going into the coming season, we're going to need probably 3 guys out of this coming draft, at least 2 that are going to be starters right away. Look at where we're going to make cuts. There's some obvious ones. Your Rashans, your Elton Jenkins, and then after that, I don't know if you've kept up with. I think his name is Kevin Ingles on X, and he does the cap stuff. And there's an article floating around. He is great. There's an article floating around that essentially it's going to be guys like Romeo Dobbs, Aaron Banks, Josh Jacobs. Like there's guys in that group that we might not see back. Kingsley Enagbare. Kingsley might get a solid deal. He might get like, remember Zadarius Smith? He was good. Maybe Zadarius was a little bit better and a little more polished than Enagbare was stats wise, but he might get a deal somewhere else. There's going to be a lot of change. You're going to have your pillars, the guys that were out on injury, and Jordan Love, and guys that we've had in the background, Bullard, Williams, Golden. They're all going to have to step up. Like we're going to have to make quite a leap. You know that you're sound because you do have your franchise quarterback. You do have one of the best all-pro defensive end again. Congratulations to Micah on doing it. I think he was on pace for over 100 pressures. I mean, a fantastic season. So there is going to be a lot of change. There's going to be names that we haven't heard of before. This is more in review of what this season has been. I can't believe this is how we got here, and just an absolute maze of a season. But Goody, we've recognized as being one of the better ones, and so I have faith that he's going to put us back on the right track. You know, we can kick the can down the road salary cap wise and maybe bring in a couple of veterans because you still, while you need to develop your young guys, you got to recognize that this is about as big of a Super Bowl window as you could have. You got your two studs, one on each side of the ball. You got to make it happen. So I'm really excited to see where we take this once the new year begins for the NFL and what we do in free agency, because it didn't go necessarily so well for us this past year, but the year prior when you had Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, everyone was pretty juiced up. So hopefully Goody can find a middle ground and we bring on a meaningful player. So,
Schmitty, do you have a sayonara and a sign off for the Packers Corner faithful and those who have made it through another season with us here?
Of course, Griffey. What is this season 3 for us? Year 3, year 4. I just like we've talked about meaningful football. We get to beat the Cowboys as a 7th seed. Like that was an awesome time. We've had some great moments on this pod. We've been considered the best team throughout these few years. I think we've had flashes.
We were there in Pittsburgh
year
together while we were considered the best team.
The
odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Come on, man. I mean, that's like, if you're a football fan, I mean, there's other organizations that you're a fan of. I can think of a handful that have never even sniffed our success in the last 20, 30 years. And so I'm grateful to be a Packers fan. While it's tough business at times, I'm even more thankful for the people that decide to listen to us and hash these things out about the Green Bay Packers, the team that we all universally love. You just hope that the people that get to make the decisions over there can get us excited for another season, and I think we're going to be in good hands. And so, thank you everyone that's tuned in this year. I can't wait for the episode where we start previewing the draft and getting into OTAs. So that's coming. It'll happen really quick. The sun will pop out for more than 3 hours in a day, and we'll be on Packers Corner chopping it up about the new kids that we just brought into the organization.
Dad, do you have a final cheese for the year?
Look at Schmitty. Look, Mr. Optimistic, rainbows and lollipops and pots of gold. I love it, Schmitty. You have come a long way. Are you taking therapy or something, or what's going on? I'm so proud of you over there. This is the thing.
It's a blocker.
You know what else, buddy? If the Packers hire a new coach, we're coming on next week for another podcast to break it down. If it's LaFleur, don't look to us till the draft or free agency. We aren't doing anything for LaFleur. If it's LaFleur, what I got for you is Swiss cheese. The cheese is full of holes. If it's not LaFleur Ed policy, put your mark on this organization. Lift us out of this quagmire. It's not really a quagmire, but lift us back to championship aspirations. And Mr. Policy, I have to hope, I have to believe that he understands this sentiment. The Green Bay, I tell you what, if you hire LaFleur back next year and it starts to go sideways, the fans are going to turn on him. It's going to be brutal in Green Bay. Ed Policy, you've got to be able to visualize this. LaFleur is on the hottest of hot seats if you put this guy back in charge of this organization. And I just think maybe it's time for Mr. Policy to be part of the new sheriff, put a new stamp on the organization and be the face of the organization and lead us out of the wilderness. Ed Policy, make us believers, put that Swiss cheese aside, and let's get back to that good quality cheddar cheese that we all love so much. And Schmitty said it better than I could ever say it, but God bless our followers and our faithful listeners, and keep the faith out there, boys and girls. We'll see you maybe in a new week and have a new coach. Let's hope for that.
That would be something. I'm sure thankful for the River Falls Falcons. They've made me bulletproof through this experience. I don't think there was anything that was going to bring me down. Not even the 2 worst losses in franchise history to the Bears. So we'll be back at it to do it again next year. And like you said, hopefully we'll have something to get excited about. I think we'll find a way to pep ourselves up when the day comes. Gentlemen, thanks for another great year. Great to be with you. And good night, everybody.
Love you all.